Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So we're just gonna give everyone just a few minutes to come into the room. Hopefully everyone is doing well tonight. Gonna give the notification. Just a few minutes to go out. Hey Miss Latoria. And we're gonna talk about a couple of different things tonight. Hopefully everyone is doing well and happy Tuesday to everyone. I think I have a little bit of a lag, but I see people slowly coming in. Hey, Project 704. I'm doing good. How are you? Um, but hopefully everyone is well. We're gonna go ahead and kind of just jump right into some things. I do want to take the time to absolutely thank my patrons. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Daniel. If you would like to also support my content, that link is below in my description box, or it should be there. Um, also, yeah, it's there. Also, hey Pilu, hey Abdul, hey to everybody coming in the room. If y'all are not following me on Instagram and Twitter, make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, I'm RhondaMary or RhondaMary V's. I have two pages over there, but type in RhondaMary, you'll find me. And on Twitter, I am RhondaMary because a while ago they deleted my band and my page or whatever. But anyway, all right, y'all. So let's start with something real quick that I posted on my Instagram today because I did want to talk about this. I've kind of been keeping y'all updated on some of the COVID stuff. And so here you have a waitress that was recently fired because she wouldn't get the vaccine. She wouldn't agree to get the vaccine. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Hey, ROTDT podcast. Hey, Rhaegar Targaryen. All right, so let's take a look at this, y'all, because I posted this on my Instagram today, and I wanted to briefly talk about this. So, New York restaurant fires waitress who wouldn't get COVID-19 vaccine. Bunny Jacobson, 34, said she was not necessarily opposed to getting vaccinated, but wanted to study the potential effect on fertility first. After nearly a year of the pandemic decimating New York City's restaurant industry, forcing thousands of businesses to close, permanently closing and costing tens of thousands of people their jobs, this month brought a glimmer of optimism. So we're gonna kind of jump on down. Over the weekend, the restaurant, the Red Hook Tavern, required that its employees get vaccinated and then terminated the waitress, Bunny Jacobson, when she asked for time to study the vaccine's possible effects on fertility. I totally support the vaccine, Miss Jacobson, 34 years old, said in an interview on Wednesday. She added, if it wasn't for this one thing, I'd probably get it. The restaurant owners would not comment specifically on the case, but he said the business's policies had been revised to make it clear to employees how they could seek an exemption from getting vaccinated. Um, So I just wanted to briefly talk about this for the simple fact, one, I've already kind of hunkering down and showing y'all over time some of the more when you have all these vaccine gung-ho people that you may be following on social media, that may be in your friends or your family, they are not going to tell you some of the more non-favorable or downsides to things like the vaccination. Okay. The crazy part about it is at some point, you really can't even be mad at the Dr. Fauci's of the world. You can't be mad at the Bill Gates of the world. These people are right on record telling you Everything. It's no secret. Bill Gates told y'all about digital vaccinations on camera out of his own mouth. Bill Gates told y'all uh, um, about I meant digital certificates out of his own mouth. Bill Gates told, like, on a stage. This is publicly recorded and available. He says that if we do this right, we will decrease the population by X amount. Dr. Fauci is on camera. I've shown you guys this tonight. We're not going to rehash it, but this is available. You can Google it. He is on camera saying we don't know the long term effects of these vaccinations. We particularly don't know the long term effects for fertility. We would not recommend this. We think it'll be okay, but we don't really know. And we wouldn't particularly recommend it to women looking to get pregnant. You can find this same exact information on the CDC's website. To this day, there is no FDA approval of these vaccinations. It's an emergency approval. You cannot sue the vaccination companies for liability. They are not responsible if something happens. We know that the age group that this young lady is in 34 years old. Not only is her age range more likely to deal with the least of the symptoms, she particularly, I mean, it's less than like 1% that she would die from the actual COVID virus. All of these stats, data is on record. So even taking the COVID vaccine, it doesn't stop you from getting COVID. Dr. Fauci says this plain as day on a CNN interview. Does not stop you from getting COVID. At best, it may help mitigate some of the symptoms. That's at best. At worst, you could possibly die or have worse symptoms if, and I want to be clear, if you have a reaction to the vaccinations, which everybody doesn't. And I'm not going to try to make y'all believe that everybody does, right? However, there are pros and cons to these things that are not being talked about in a very fair and balanced way. I don't believe every single day people are talking about. I just had somebody comment on maybe like 3 videos ago. He said his I think like his 80-year-old 90-year-old grandmother had COVID, recovered from COVID, took the vaccination, after the second vaccination died. Another person commented on my video, said his aunt, I believe, in her 70s had COVID, did like the treatments that we've talked about, so like vitamin D, azithromycin, hydroxychloroquine, was better in days, like doing well now. And that's not even counting the tons of people I see coming across my timeline, whether it's on Twitter or I see their comments on Instagram talking about their daughter has died, their grandma has died from whatever vaccination, the vaccinations. Just read a story today. I actually went online to look at the young girl's obituary. She was, I believe, 28 years old, married with a family, and just died after the second dose of the vaccination. You know, so that's unfortunate, but our job and the media's actual job should be producing the most non-biased information of this could happen, this also could happen, and letting individual families make these decisions. But instead, you have a Bill Gates that is actually The same man that is on these different networks being hyped up like he's a virologist, hyping you up to take the vaccination, this same man has invested $250 million into media organizations. Well, there's somebody that deals with computers, you're doing all this philanthropy work, you traveling, you have billions of dollars, you just bought all this farmland, you have all this going for yourself. What is your vested interest in playing in our skies, blocking the sun, playing and worrying about our water sources? And then you have the media that, of course, is going to favor you when you are funding them. That's just, I mean, that's one plus one equals two. So here you have this young lady being fired. I've said sometimes, unfortunately, following your convictions, it can hurt. You know what I mean? But if you don't have enough people actually standing up for what they want, what they believe in, doing what they want, you're going to have people that go so far that they just think they can run all over you, can treat you any kind of way. Imagine a job that pays you probably $2.34 an hour plus tips, having the audacity. How freaking dare you tell me that I have to inject this uh uh inject this vaccination into my veins, experimental vaccination, because as I said, this has yet to be approved by the FDA. This is still under emergency approval. That should tell people in itself a lot. So hopefully more people will stand up to this. It's not worth it. Especially with something as precious as fertility. We already know, if I'm not mistaken, I remember even before, something that I believe Bill Gates was tied to was giving women fertility issues in other countries, if I remember that correctly now, y'all. But I think I do remember reading something about that maybe months or years ago, right? And we know that we've had current medical Western systems that have been attached to discouraging fertility in certain women, ruining fertility in certain women, making it hard for women to birth in medical facilities and things like this. So there's a documented history of that. So I think this is good for her. I'm glad she quit. Hopefully her story will be an example to people. And also, these freaking jobs, they don't care about you. They think you're replaceable. If you really go to your boss and say, "Hey, me and my husband are interested in having another child," and the CDC is literally saying we don't know the effects of this on fertility, and they say, "Well, screw that. We don't care about all that. Either you're gonna work or you gotta go." I mean, you got to get this vaccine or you got to go. And it doesn't make it any better that this is happening in New York. And New York's track record for everything, right? Pushing and forcing certain things into their citizens. We see what recently, all the controversy surrounding Andrew Cuomo and them kind of evading certain information early on about what was happening with the nursing homes, the accurate numbers on deaths, and all of those type of things. So, and it also doesn't help that there was this there was this opinion piece. This is what we've come to, y'all. There was this opinion piece that came out in the New York Times. Don't go down a rabbit hole. Critical thinking, as we were taught to do it, isn't helping in the fight against misinformation. First of all, sir, how do you know how I was taught to think critically? How do you even know that? How do you come to the conclusion that this is right in the New York Times? For an academic, Michael Caulfield has an odd request. Stop overthinking what you see online. Mr. Caulfield, a digital literacy expert at Washington State University, Vancouver, knows all too well that at this very moment, more people are fighting for the opportunity to lie to you than at perhaps any other point in human history, including you, maybe, the New York Times. I don't know. Misinformation rides the greased algorithmic rails of powerful social media platforms and travels at velocities and volumes and make it nearly impossible to stop. Is that right? Is that part of the reason why the Nick Salmon dude, I call him Sandman, I think that was his name. Y'all remember the dude that was standing out there with the MAGA cap, and all the news agencies took that video and ran with all this information, right? Ran with all these theories of what was happening. Oh, we know what he felt in his heart as he was just staring at this guy with his eyes, right? And they turned this into a whole big thing. And that story went so freaking far. That guy ended up suing these media companies for like millions. Could that count as some of the velocities and volume? Don't even get me started on Julie what's his name? Not Journey, the brother. I can't even think. Smolye. I know who I'm talking about. Early on, like I'm RhondaMary. I'm a small YouTuber, you know, and even I, straight off the rip, I remember because I actually had people mad at me because of my opinion on the story early on, straight off the rip. I was like, because I remember I had been watching Kamala Harris for a while because I know when the media starts throwing somebody in front of us, Jussie Smollett, thank y'all. I know when the media starts throwing somebody in front of us, I'm like, something is about to happen. So I had already peeped the Kamala Harris thing. The media had started giving her more airtime. They started throwing her and Cory Booker in front of the cameras more. The average person doesn't even realize there was an entire buildup and media manipulation machine to build the idea of what we know as Kamala Harris in our minds today. There was an entire like 2-year buildup of building this personality. And so I had been watching it early on. And I remember two of the main things she was doing was she used that Serena Williams, the thing with her pregnancy of, oh, we gotta get this racism out of the medical practices. And nobody's talking about that today. But, because, we only care about stuff when it's popular and it's popping. And I addressed it a couple of weeks ago when I did a video, interviewed a young lady talking about like home birthing and birthing at um uh care centers. I can't think of the name of them right now, but they're not like hospitals. And so anyway, I that was the one thing that Kamala Harris was talking about strong at the time because she down for the people and all this. And the second thing was they were talking about introducing this lynching bill, making lynching illegal. And at the time, I was like, okay, but this is like a platitude. I don't know why we would praise people for this when homicide, murder is literally illegal. So if you want to spend time in office while Americans are freaking, suffering or going through whatever, or could be benefited in better ways. If you want to spend your time writing an anti-lynching bill in like 2000, and I think this was like 2019, 2020, I'm like, okay. But I'm like, I just think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. Then literally, boom, it was like weeks or maybe months later, and Jussie Smollett is talking about he was almost lynched in the middle of Chicago heading for a Subway sandwich in the snow. And so as the media ran haywire with these stories. I'm like, didn't y'all go to school for this? Aren't y'all literally like investigative journalists? Aren't you supposed to ask people questions? Aren't you supposed to investigate and get down to the bottom of stuff? And I immediately picked up on it just because when you pay attention, it's easy to pick up on stuff. And so when Kamala Harris did that tweet, some about, she tied Jesse Smollett to her anti-lynching bill, and she tweeted about it. This is incomprehensible. People attempted a lynching in modern day. That's why my bill, wink, wink, needs to go through the Senate. Man, come on, man. So, you know, but see, the media is never going to tell you that they need to stop with the BS, that they need to stop with these stories that they're running with because they're overthinking. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to tell you to stop thinking. You don't think critically. You don't run with the stories that we don't want you to run with. That's the real problem here. It's not the millions that we've had to pay out for misusing or abusing or straight out lying about different stories. We're not the problem. It's y'all. Stop all that doggone thinking, you silly rabbit. That alone makes misinformation warfare, an unfair fight for the average internet user, because y'all are too dumb to think, figure things out, analyze, that's warfare. But Mr. Clotfield argues that the deck is stacked even further against us, that the way we're taught from a young age to evaluate and think critically about information is fundamentally flawed, and it is out of step with the chaos of the current internet. Maybe because possibly for the first time in history, with so much access to information and other people and other thought processes, and before we were moving deeper and deeper into an echo chamber, people actually have potential to engage in more information, and they don't want that. They don't want that because then it ruins the agenda. They ruins the narrative. You can't go having it. We're taught that in order to protect ourselves from bad information, we need to deeply engage with that stuff that washes up in front of us. He suggested that the dominant mode of media literacy, if kids get taught any at all, is that you'll get imperfect information and then using reasoning to fix that somehow. But in reality, that strategy can completely backfire. So listen to this stupid, ridiculous example they give. In other words, resist the lure of rabbit holes in part by reimagining media literacy for the internet hellscape we occupy. It's often counterproductive, so we're going to go down to here. For instance, imagine you were to visit Stormfront, a white supremacist message board, to try to understand racist claims in order to debunk them. Even if you see through the horrible rhetoric, at the end of the day, you gave that place however many minutes of your time. But they don't care about that when they're doing their outrage marketing. They don't care about that when they run Black Lives Matter stories that pushes people in the streets to riot. And even we have examples of small businesses burning down. They don't care about that rhetoric pushing people to do things. Yet, as soon as they pull the narrative, snatch it from the media, now you don't even see, nobody's talking about these stories before, but because I follow people that actually do work, actually care about these things in real time, I still see that these things are happening. But the media wants to pull stuff in and out of your psyche when they want to, but they don't want you, because you don't need to think about any of this stuff. Just think about what we tell you to think about. So even if you see through the horrible rhetoric, at the end of the day, you gave that place however many minutes of your time. Don't give them minutes of your time. Give us all the minutes of your time. Even with good intentions, you run the risk of misunderstanding something because Stormfront users are way better at propaganda than you. You won't get less racist reading Stormfront critically, but you might be overloaded by information and overwhelmed. You know what? I don't even know what the heck Stormfront is. I have no clue what that is. Right? But first of all, it's no way that a white supremacist message board that somebody is going there to debunk or whatever is gonna be like, maybe I kind of get down with this white supremacy thing. After all, I feel totally influenced now. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you actually are a critical thinker, you actually do think for yourself, you actually do analyze it. At best, addressing or analyzing information that you don't agree with makes you able to communicate better while you don't agree with these things. So you don't have to be soft. You don't have to always be offended. And you can actually communicate with your words instead of running from people, running from things that you agree with. And it might not be on Stormfront or this actual platform, right? But in instances where these discussions are being had or conversations about these things, you can fluently communicate while you're on the opposing end. And for anybody to think otherwise, I mean, I don't know. So that's where your media is. And I'll drop this later if y'all want to read the entire thing. You know, don't think critically. Just do what we say. We'll inject this in your veins, even though we know, and we told you we don't know how this affects fertility. But who gives a crap about your fertility? We are already trying to reduce the population because we also told you that on a national platform, Bill Gates. Blast Cap Badger, I always appreciate truth. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Justine, didn't Facebook radicalize people who are ignorant to politics, though? The media radicalizes people every single day. The media radicalizes people every single day. Why are we trying to make Facebook different? Our media gets mainstream media gets hundreds of thousands of millions of views. They lie, they manipulate, they propagandize every single day. And people that can be radicalized to any extent without thinking for themselves are not that bright. So it wasn't that long before they get radicalized anyway. But to deal with radicalization is not by censorship. It's by having people that's able to actually communicate a different thought or why that person is wrong. But not to uh uh push all of the radicalized people in one place to allow it to fester. And so that's why, even when we're looking at things like the vaccination, when you are able to reason with, okay, this information is being presented alongside this information, and based on, because we learn and move through like comparison, contrast, things we learned before. And a lot of times when you're able to put these things side by side, you can see which one makes no sense. But it's impossible to do that when you don't have anything to compare it to. please don't make the mistake of thinking that the media, the mainstream media, doesn't also want to radicalize you. They do. It's completely obvious. Even putting, I don't know if y'all saw, well, y'all probably saw this, right? Putting uh the videos of, I don't know. Maxine Waters is coming to my head because I'm going to briefly talk about her tonight. But Maxine Waters and a lot of the other politicians saying stuff like, get up in their face. We're going to back them down. We have to fight. And putting that right by the videos of Trump saying, we have to fight. And if you listen to these videos in comparison, in unison, and use your own brain, you're going to be like, they're using the same exact language. The languaging is the same. Intent the same, whatever, you know, that may be something different. But the languaging is the same. Now, if you see this over here and that over there, and you only see one side of it, could either be radical to either way, of course. Of course, right? And so that's my point. That's what happens when you don't have a very balanced media that'll pull out pitchforks to say, this is bad, but don't pay attention to the person that said the same exact thing, use the same exact languaging over here. No, this one is bad. Now they're radicalizing you towards the only thing that they're pointing at. So, but anyway, I didn't imagine to be talking about that as long as I did. Let's keep going, y'all. Hey to everybody that just came into the room. It's crazy because I remember thinking this like, I think I thought this even back in high school. I remember feeling like school had like got so just boring and humdrum. And I remember thinking like, why don't we have critical, it used to be called critical, was it called just critical thinking skills or something like that? But it was a dedicated class to like problem solving and thinking outside of the box and stuff like that. And I remember that being canned. Like, I remember that and thinking like, why would they do that? And then years later, it's like, mm, it makes sense. But anyway, all right, y'all, let's keep moving. So I briefly want to talk about this Tina Knowles love letter that was written to Jay-Z. Um, because, you know, the world is funny. The world is funny. It's really funny. It keeps turning, that's for sure. Um, so let's look at this and talk about it because I want y'all to take note of the culture shift. That's not the right term to use. Let's not say culture shift. Let's say conversation shift that's happening as opposed to this time last year or just 2 years ago. So this is Tina Lawson. This is a love letter to my son-in-law, Sean Carter. So y'all know Jay-Z, married to Beyonce. Miss Tina Lawson is Beyonce's mother. The reason why I was led to write this was because recently at the Super Bowl, we witnessed the national anthem, America the Beautiful, and the halftime entertainment all being super talented Black people. Everyone was psyched about it. Each person that performed, Jasmine Sullivan, her, and The Weeknd, all slaying their performances and making Black excellence shine and all us proud. I could not help but remember when Jay took on being in charge of the entertainment at the Super Bowl and saying that things would never change unless we had someone on the inside that could make decisions. someone at the top. I read all the horrible things people said, calling him a sellout and hating on him big time. But he kept it moving because every person who has affected change has been criticized and dogged by their peers. One thing that I've noticed about Jay-Z is that he doesn't let what people say bully him into not doing the things that he knows are right. But after the last Super Bowl, I did not read one comment by one person that said they were pleased that he didn't listen to the noise and he kept it moving and that he was able to get three talented black people to dominate at this year's Super Bowl. Why is that? It took a lot of guts and a lot of his money, blood, sweat, and tears to start Tidal. And she just goes on to talk about Tidal. Don't be crabs in a bucket, or whatever that term, crabs in a barrel. He's selling half of his champagne company, and blah blah blah. Go support Tidal. All that's cool. But y'all, I'm almost offended by the audacity to insult our intelligence. In just a few months to the last couple of years, there has been a quick 180 media storm that has completely changed the narrative. And I'm sickened by the fact that people are just acting like this is normal. I'm sickened by the fact that like people are not talking about this. Uh First of all, this whole idea of black excellence at the Super Bowl. Black people have been performing at the Super Bowl for like ever. Ever. Literally, when people talk about one of the greatest performances of the Star Bangle Banner, there's feel like a tongue twister. Whitney Houston's name is one of the names at the top of the list. Not even talking about her, just a few years ago, Beyonce and Bruno Mars, the year before Kaepernick took a knee. I think it was the same year. So the Super Bowl was that February. Kaepernick took a knee in that September. Bruno Mars and Beyonce did the halftime Super Bowl. So they've managed through the media to completely change this narrative and a conversation that this was even supposed to be about. Now it's black excellence to sing the national anthem. It was just last year and the year before that if you chose to, you didn't even have to be singing the national anthem. If you accepted an invitation to even perform at the Super Bowl, you were off top a sellout. Off top. These people disrespected was that Gladys Knight, I believe. What's the other guy's name that dated Kylie Jenner? Travis Scott, Big Boy from Outkast. All these people were questioned, talked about, that have since, in between this time, accepted invitations from the NFL. Imagine the levels of the type of mentalities that we're dealing with for people to be able to switch up this quickly of what they do and do not support. Now, on I want to make this clear. On no level am I like I feel any type of way about Jay-Z. I said from the very beginning, I've been very consistent about this. This was always a money move for Jay-Z and his family. It was nothing more and nothing less. Why not scoop in and make the most and take the advantage of that situation, knowing that the NFL can use this to their benefit? You can pretend like, oh, this kind of a social justice thing, but I'm literally being paid for this. This is a job. I can use this to move my artists further, because at some point within like the last year or two, Chloe and Haley, two of Beyonce's or Rock Nation artists, also perform at the NFL. So this was always a money move. I'm just annoyed by the way people trying to spin it. I'm annoyed by the way Jay-Z try to spin it. I'm annoyed by the way the media try to spin it. I'm annoyed by the way Tina Lawson trying to spin it. This don't have nothing to do with social justice. This don't have nothing to do with black excellence. Black people been performing at the Super Bowl. They acting like they just integrated the Super Bowl. Jay-Z just got the first black person ever to perform at the Super Bowl. That's what he did. While y'all was calling him a seller. Like, he didn't do nothing but book some people for a halftime show. What? And it's like, cool, like, get your money. Get your money. I'm not tripping off that. But let's not characterize it as something it's not. And you have hip hop artists, you have entertainers, you have the media blogs, you have the urban media blogs, you have the mainstream media that constantly do this. They constantly do this to us. They try to mischaracterize things on a very emotional level because they know people are going to respond emotionally. I went and looked at the shade room comments. Everybody in comments just, yeah, we did that. Black excellence, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess. So within a short amount of time, singing the national anthem, I guess that's cool again. That's black excellence. Uh Stories of police brutality already going under the radar. No longer, the algorithms ain't bumping them no more. Either people do not care because of the change in the administration. You had corporations who all they had to do was post a black square or put out some type of vague statement, we stand with you, that made millions. You had a Black Lives Matter movement that made millions. We barely know where that money went and what is there to show for it. It's like some of this stuff, when I go back and look at the timing of everything and a lot of how this stuff was worked out and played, a lot of the social things we've seen over the past few years, just like how I brought up the timing of the Kamala thing with the Justice Smollett with the anti-lynching bill. Now, as I go back and look at the dates of when Beyonce performed, and she did that whole kind of like a homage to Black Panthers during that Super Bowl, and then later that year, that same year, Colin Kaepernick kneels, and then how all that went down with the Nike thing, and I'm like, maybe it's all coincidence. Maybe it's all coincidence. Like the New York Times say, I don't want to think too critically. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's all coincidence, but I don't know, y'all. Like, the more and more I look at some of this stuff, it's like, that's interesting. That timeline is interesting. How that worked out is interesting. Some of this stuff at some point is almost like a movie script. Thank you, Blast Cat Badger, for the super chat. So this idea, right, that these entertainers are leaders, and I have my entertainers are not leaders tees available. You can click the link below in my bio to grab you one. Um, but this idea or this way that we, along with the media, keep trying to idolize them as doing, just these grand things. And not to take anything from, the impact that Jay-Z has had on people and the things that he donates his money to and stuff like that. Helping bring in I believe that was a Khalif Browder story, helping bring that to life and stuff like that. Do I absolutely think they do good things? I mean, sure, absolutely. But I just hate this false narrative and this false characterization of things to push a certain image or a certain message, and how people don't see how quickly they're being. It's like a freaking ping pong. It's just whatever's trending today is what people's are with, I guess. But that brings me going into this Megan Thee Stallion interview with Representative Maxine Waters. So I'm not going to show y'all the actual interview. I would like to, but because this is on Harper's Bazaar, I don't know what type of um Lord, I can't even think of the word. I'll think of it in a second, y'all. So I don't know if I could show this during my video. But so Megan Thee Stallion, why I speak up for Black women. So if y'all do not remember, Megan Thee Stallion is a popular hip hop artist, possibly one of the top hip hop female artists right now. She is most recently known for her uh this interaction with Tory Lanez, where he allegedly shot her in both of her feet. And after that, she went to the hospital. And after that, she went on a Protect Black Women tour. And so you've had, and I say tour sarcastically, I hope y'all picked up on it. But you've had people like Maxine Waters and others who have taken the opportunity to shout her out. And you then had Maxine Waters take the opportunity to do this interview with her. So this is on Harper's Bazaar, which is I'm not super familiar with their YouTube channel, but I do know that their magazine is a very well-known, like, top fashion magazine. And so some of the things that they talk about in the video, to me, most of the video didn't even have a lot of substance. It was just a bunch of, protect Black women. Women should do what they want to do, be who they want to be, don't give up, examine who you are, be grounded, be yourself, know yourself. You know what I mean? It was on that type of time. And so one thing that I found particularly interesting is that the interviewer asked Maxine Waters, she was like, what can we do so Black women are not only celebrated, but also protected? And Maxine Waters gave this really weird answer that wasn't really an answer, which is what, like, politicians do. And so, get grounded, be yourself. She said something about, if you feel some type of way, go with what you feel about it. Don't wait on the opinions of others and things like this. And so uh I just really don't know overall or understand the okay. So first of all, let's start with the fact that they did ask Maxine Waters about the popular song W.A.P, also known as WAP, Wet. You can defer the rest. If not, you can Google it. But it was a very popular song with Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, where they talk about sexual empowerment. And so when Maxine Waters was asked about this song, I actually think she gave the pretty political answer. She was like, "Well, when I heard the song, I just thought the audacity, like, women can finally say what they want to say, and this and the other." First of all, I'm thinking like I don't really understand the need um for politicians to constantly try to immerse themselves in current uh uh hip hop culture, pop culture, particularly when we see some of the effects that these things have had culturally, particularly when we come to the sexualization of women. I think it's very interesting to see the turn of feminism. I would actually compare it a lot to what we saw as with Black Lives Matter. Oftentimes these movements start as very grassroots movements with particular agendas and things they're trying to accomplish, and then they are often bastardized by the mainstream media once they get a hold to these things and see how they can use them for their own agenda. So similar to the Black Lives Matter organization and how we've seen that used, we've also seen this with feminism. And so, even though feminism actually started off as we don't want women to be sexualized, we want women to be celebrated for their mind, we want them to be celebrated for the way they think, who they are, and their being, just like men typically are, without having to be sexualized, without having to be, around the time when feminism first started. This is when Playboy was just taking off and, super popular and things like this. We don't think women should have to be on Playboy to be accepted, to be noticed, to be an example or a representation of women, right? And so today, of course, that's totally been flipped into something different, and it's all empowerment if you can manage to do the same things that prostitutes have been doing for years, but just make it like proud, do like some type of hashtag women empowerment and things like this. Now, to be fair, because people are always try to like put words in your mouth, um I actually personally feel the same way about men making vulgar music that I do about women. I'm not different in that aspect. I feel the same way when it comes to uh I don't even know what word I'm thinking for, but being the opposite of promiscuous. Like, I feel the same way for men and women. So people really can't come at me with the, "Oh, well, you don't, da 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 da, you don't say that about men." However, you don't see Barack Obama sitting down with the baby to be asked about his latest songs. That's the difference. You don't see Future sitting down with Cory Booker. You don't see, I don't even know. I don't even know the males that make vulgar music. Like, I don't even know because I don't listen to it. And just in general, I just really don't vibe with it. Y'all know, like back in the day, they used to be like, uh, what was that song about? Uh, you're like a Jeep. People would, it would be real. Like, they would use little certain language. It was just way more like not in your face type things. But we have politicians and we have media that super empower or promote the women or the culture of promiscuity for women as opposed to the men. The music back in the day, it was just way more subtle, right? Like you could actually be in a car with your kids and it's just like some metaphor. Like they don't know what they're talking about or singing about, right? But now it's like that wet and you gotta cover your ears. Don't sing that. Change the channel. Now, I want to be clear because even Maxine Waters mentioned this in the interview, which I thought was really good and a good point to note that I'm glad she did. She talked about the importance. And I don't know how deeply she believes this, but she did talk about the importance of the First Amendment, and she also talked about how she was the ones on the Senate floor who stood up for people like I know she said Tupac, and I think Dr. J was the other person to defend. Y'all remember back in the day, I think it was the Two Live Crew. You had all these discussions about whether hip hop was too vulgar, whether it should be banned in the United States, and things like this. Of course, I love that she noted that point, and I absolutely do not think that should be the case. I do think these are grown people. I do think that parents are responsible for what their children are listening to. I don't think these people should be some type of role model to your children. However, it's a different ball game when your freaking senator or your president is sitting beside them being asked about their lyrics for one of the most modern vulgar songs to date. That changes the ball game a little bit. It changes the ball game when you have these supposedly respectable figures sitting down doing these type of interviews, basically validating a certain aspect of hip hop and pop culture. That's the difference. Like I said, you don't have a freaking senator sitting down with Future, and he probably I don't even know if Future's lyrics is not that vulgar, right? Or well, not that I've heard, and I'm not even super familiar with his lyrics, and I don't even think he would probably come to people's head as like if you say vulgar hip hop. But I know the baby has some recent song out, and I don't know the song. I just remember seeing people talking about it as well. But you don't see people sitting down talking to these people or validating that. Also, even me, right, as this like Second Amendment advocate, I'm like, women need to protect themselves. You do an entire interview about black women being protected. Black women need to be protected, and you give absolutely no details on what that actually means and looks like in real time. You give a handful of platitudes. These are the same people that support gun control. Do not address the topic head on. Is not honest with young women, telling them unfortunately we don't live in a society where you can count on other people for your protection. They'll tell people about the police all day every day. They'll beat it in your head that the police is not going to protect you, but they expect some random person, and usually random. Tori and Megan knew each other, and that kind of goes into a different, thing. But usually they want that to include some random person or somebody that may not even know you protecting you. You not making or taking the steps to protect yourself. You taking on no responsibility for the type of people that you're dealing with, because we can't make women responsible for anything. That's uncouth. It's unacceptable. You cannot do that in a public light. We cannot try to encourage women to make better decisions and see the type of predicaments that they're putting themselves in. We don't even want to teach women gun safety because, then it'll have them thinking about guns and thinking about ways to protect themselves. And as a person, myself, who has also been around some questionable people at a point in my life and had to realize that I'm doing this. I'm responsible for the decisions that I'm making and the instances that I'm putting myself in, particularly when it comes to an intimate partner, right? It's not going to be the same if you're like, walking down the street and just trying to get to your job and a random person is harassing you. But even then, it's still okay to take the opportunity to protect yourself, feel safer. A firearm may be one way. Having one may be one way. And there are also other, and I always stress this, is there are other self-protection tactics and things you can learn to increase your chances of being safe or knowing what to do in an emergency situation. But people are going to have to want that for themselves. And most people are just not going to want that if you're always telling them that the honest is on some other person that could be crazy, that could be vicious, evil, just not give a crap about you. One of the good things that I talk about is that if you have a really good trainer, or depending on the type of classes that you take, what comes along with self-defense through a firearm is you learn so much other stuff. You learn de-escalation. You learn things to look for that you can notice before it even gets to a threat level. So you may be able to evade or escape a situation altogether. This is super important for not just women to know, but people to know. But for some reason, we don't have these conversations. It's just very vague, like boogie monster, like, protect black women, like everybody's coming for you, but you can't trust the police either, but don't have a gun, don't protect yourself. So I don't know, don't give up, be who you want to be, know yourself, get grounded. Like, what do I do with this information? And even the precedent is setting, man. I just hate that we've gotten to this place where we convict people in the public sphere. I absolutely hope that the truth comes out about this whole Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion thing in court. Uh I hope the truth comes out. I hope whoever in this situation get justice. I absolutely hope that. But to convict people in the public realm, it's like people pick and choose when they okay with it. You're not okay. If it had been Tory Lanez against any other ethnicity or person, people would not be okay with him being convicted in the public sphere. But because it's the Megan Thee Stallion, now it's like hierarchies of when this stuff actually matters to us, when we actually stick to the things, the principles we say we believe in. But I actually in real time, it's not just some saying, it's not just some platitude, it's not just some hashtag. I actually want women to be able to protect themselves, and I want women to be more protected. But that's not going to happen with very vague know yourself statements. And so, how do you go on this tour of this, saying this thing, creating this narrative? And y'all know where my mind go. On some level, I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all how I think. I cannot confirm this, but this is my suspicion, and I'm just watching and paying attention. But this is my suspicion. Now that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are in office, and now that more of the unarmed killings uh, or police brutality events are going under the rug because they don't want to disturb y'all right now. They want to let you, stay on cloud nine, enjoy this moment, go back to sleep, whatever you need to do. So as most of those, because they're still happening, like let's not be naive here. As those are going under the rug, as you have this new administration, I really think they're setting a tone to get people to be more accepting, particularly in the Black community, of this new gun control legislation that comes out. Politicians are very good at using events to boost what they're trying to do. I literally just talked about this. I used Kamala Harris as an example, right? She used Serena Williams and what happened with her pregnancy to, we got to hold these hospitals accountable. Have you heard anybody talk about that anytime recently? Have you? Have you? Have you? I did a video on at home births, how to have more autonomy over your birth, how to talk to your freaking doctors, other options to make your birthing more easy. Probably got like 300 views. If I would have did that when it was hashtagging and when people were talking about it and when people were fake caring, it probably would have got 5,000. Also, the Jussie Smollett thing. Oh, anti-lynching. That's perfect because I got a bill for that sitting on the House floor right now. Right? So politicians are very good at taking situations and using and turning around and crafting them for their own narrative. Right? And so, this is an assumption. I don't have anything to back up these claims, but I think about Tory Lanez using this firearm. I think about how are you going to get people to switch up on, because, they were supposed to be defunding the police. They're going to have to ramp it. Once this gun control legislation goes through, you're actually going to see more law enforcement ramped up because they're going to have to take the time we went over HR 127. It's just a lot more paperwork. It's a lot more for citizens to do. You have law enforcement, the attorney general, and the local psychiatrists that are way more hands-on. They're not going to defund these people. So what can I do to not make him the boogeyman for a while? Because I got to make y'all think that we've come in, we've resolved your issues, we've made the world better, but that man that's living in your house, because he ain't no good and he don't want to protect you. So of course, if we ramp up gun control, we can help you. We're here to save you. We care about you, girl. But truth be told, if this man doesn't have the mental capacity, emotional capacity to be in a romantic relationship, partnership, to respect women, a firearm is not going to make or break what he's going to do to you. So I'm kind of tired of, I'm getting to a point where I haven't even done YouTube that long, and I can sift through all of the BS and the recycling conversations they try to have us on without head on attacking these issues and really talking about them. Even in this interview with Megan Thee Stallion and Maxine Waters, is very just a political, you know, like I said, be yourself, get grounded, protect women. We care about women. It's just, it doesn't really address anything. And also, I like to make another point, but I gotta say it. I gotta say it. But when I said Colin Kaepernick years ago, when I said Colin Kaepernick should meet with politicians because supposedly, apparently, he had actual grievances. People thought I was crazy. People said he shouldn't have to do all that. He don't want to do that. Why he gotta do that? He don't want to be what they call it, a picture, a picture, a photo op for Trump. My exact words. I said he doesn't have to meet with Trump. He doesn't have to meet with Trump. Meet with all these people that's got trying to get this extra camera time right now. Cory Booker. At the time, it was Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters. It was the same time they were trying to throw Kamala Harris in front of the cameras and all this. People said I was crazy. He shouldn't have to do all that. Why should he have to sit down with politicians? Politicians will sit down with who they want to sit down with, obviously. Politicians will give, they can be evasive or give actual solutions depending on if they feel like it or not. It's a reason that didn't happen. People are not going to try to make me believe I'm crazy. It's a reason these people don't address anything head on. They talk in political speak. We go around these issues like freaking roller coasters. It's a reason why none of these politicians, even though they wanted all this camera time, they want to be social media viral, that none of them would sit down with Colin Kaepernick or even anybody off his team. And one thing I do on some level have to give Ice Cube credit for. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything Ice Cube has going and this and the other, but I find it really interesting that he is attempting to do and scheduled to do, to my understanding, exactly what I said Colin Kaepernick had the opportunity to do. He could literally be the front face for a scholar, a uh you know, anybody that actually works in the area, a statistician who he could be the face for and get them in the door to meet with the politicians if he didn't want to do it. or he could pass the torch. And so now you have an Ice Cube who, to my understanding, is actually just the face for people like Dr. Clyde Anderson, who have for years talked about who is an economist and talked about how different things have affected the Black community. Particularly, I just posted something not long ago with like immigration and all these things. But I was crazy for thinking Colin Kaepernick at the height of his fame, when you had the ear of the nation, when we couldn't get away from you on TV. That was wild of me to even suggest such a thing, because that's just too much like, right, girl, you trying to actually do something and make these people not just give platitudes, but address the things that they are using to inflame us, the things that we're constantly talking about, the things that they run their entire platforms on, and then get in office and don't even talk about it anymore. But you know, you know, you know, you know, I mean, hey. Grace said, "Thank you, Rhonda, for constantly talking about defending yourself. Taking a pistol training class this week. Woo woo! That's what's up. Thank you, Grace. I'm so happy to hear that. I really, really hope you enjoy it. I actually have a training class this weekend as well. That I'm looking forward to, and so it's super fun. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll learn a lot, and I love to get messages like that. Um, and another reason why I'm bothered by seeing people give platitudes and not actually address these situations head on is because I have people in my inbox, like just a couple of days ago, a single mother in New York City, has, I think she said, 2 sons. And it's like, how am I going to protect myself out here? Like, she didn't say this, I'm saying this. Hashtags are cute. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. Put it on a shirt. Platitudes are cute. But, are these politicians actually addressing these things head on, even from a statistical standpoint? I'm going to drop a video probably in the morning. I was supposed to post it today, but I forgot. Of some statistics of actual like defensive gun usage, because even sometimes when they pretend like they're addressing these things, they don't do it from a very statistical, non-biased, objective standpoint. So that's another issue within itself. But Southeast Dusty said, I caught hell for the same thing. Colin Kaepernick should have spoken with politicians. We get caught everything with a child of God for stating the obvious. And then the crazy thing is, everything comes back to it just comes full circle. The truth always comes out. Like, you got Megan Thee Stallion sitting down here with Maxine Waters. You got Cardi B sitting with, I think she said, with Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, if I remember correctly. Like, please don't act like these politicians don't want the clout. They want the clout because of, they know the entertainers have the streets of the ears of the younger population. So they off top want the clout. So let's not act like it's just impossible to for it to happen. So it always comes full circle. Even the stuff with COVID. I posted on Twitter and Instagram today. I said it's crazy. It's amazing to me how when Ron DeSantis was talking about lifting the mandates, lifting all the COVID restrictions, people call this man a murderer and everything else under the sun. But guess who ain't being recalled as governor? It ain't him. is actually the governor that implemented the strictest lockdowns, being recalled by over, I think, a million signatures now. I don't know what you want to call it, poetic justice. I don't know if that's the truth coming to light, but if this man was so horrible, I mean, the truth is just there. It's in plain sight. Like, now a person that was praised for his response to COVID, Cuomo, and now hopefully getting his Emmy snatched. You know, uh, but I mean, these things come full circle, and this is why I call them out and try to bring it to light. Like, and it's crazy because I'm glad the Southeast Jussie said that, because the same people that went in on you or said whatever or didn't agree with you, now when the truth comes out about this stuff, or more information, or you see where the chips fall, like, even me, when I was talking about Jay-Z from the beginning, I was telling people this, like, it's a money move. Like, just stop. Like, now they get quiet. They don't say anything. They don't retract. They don't apologize. They just try to pretend like it never happened. But it's all good. Grace said, "Yep, went to the range and talked to the owner. It's not as intimidating and it's made out to be in the media. It's absolutely not. Like, it's absolutely not." And I don't know if you saw the video when I took my family, but my aunts and my mom, my aunts in particular, like, they loved it. They had like a really good time, and they say they want to go like more and more. So, but I think once, and the crazy part about it is, and this is why I think, even if you never own a firearm, because ultimately the truth is, it's not gonna be for everybody. It's just not. It never will be, right? For whatever reason, some people just is like, yeah, nah, like, I'm straight. Um, However, I think it's super important for everybody, regardless of owning a firearm or whatever, to learn the safety component. Not only does it make all of us safer, right? And that's another thing that politicians don't want to address, because you gotta leave people a reason to feel like you the one to swoop up and save them. Like, you the one that's gonna save the day. You the one that's gonna solve all the problems, right? But um knowing safety, you know, what not to do, the four basic rules of firearm safety, knowing that stuff, knowing not to put your finger in the trigger, knowing not to store it a certain way, learning a lot of these things keeps all of us safer. But not only that, it removes the fear, it removes the mystery, it removes a lot of the misconceptions, and overall it just makes people feel better, and it makes people feel safer. And once you get over, like, I know what this does. It's kind of like, I use this example, it's kind of like driving a car. Like, most people, your first time driving a car, you're like nervous, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like a big deal. But once you know, okay, this is how much I can push the brake down. This is how much I can turn my wheel to make this turn. This is how I do this. This is how I do that. It's like, like, I feel better now, you know? So it's kind of like that. But all right, y'all. So I'm gonna head out of here. Thank y'all for rocking with me every Tuesday. Hopefully, y'all have a good night. Thank you so much to everyone that super chatted. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you, a special thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael Ray, and Daniel. Also, thank you to my moderators. I feel like I don't thank y'all enough. Y'all been rocking with me for the longest. Special thanks. Don't forget, I have that merch in my bio below if y'all would like to get any of my merch. And all right, bye y'all. See y'all next time. Bye.